Hello, and welcome back to the Walking Out Your Purpose podcast with your host. Listen, y'all, always willing and ready to do the most, Alicia Smith. I'm so happy to be with you all today. If you're viewing this on YouTube, you get to see me and my guest. And if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, listen, we're so excited that you're here. You all know that we're all about learning, growing, and sharing over here on the Walking Out Your Purpose podcast. If you are new to the show, welcome. So happy to have you. I know that you all are going to enjoy this episode. I love this series. It's called A Peek into Purpose, and we get an opportunity to talk with someone that is truly walking in their purpose and for you to hear their story, hopefully to motivate you to do what? To act, because that's what we're about over here, is getting the work done. And we know that it's all for God's glory. So I'm excited today because I have a guest with me. Listen, y'all, she don't even need no introduction, but I'm going to share her name, but she is going to tell you who she is, what she's all about. But her name is Avis Robinson. She is my sister in Christ. So y'all know I get excited when I get to bring people on the show that share the same faith. And so I am excited for you all to meet her, to learn more about her story, and to, of course, support her in what she is doing in ministry and professionally. So, Avis, love, I'm going to turn it over to you. Please tell the audience and the world who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Oh my goodness, who I am and a little bit about myself, girl. This story is extensive. I've been on this earth rotating about 58 good years, so there's a lot to tell. I'm going to try to condense it though. But I am Avis Robinson. As you said, I am a kingdom citizen with kingdom privileges ruled by King Jesus. I always say that first because whatever precedes that is not as important as that to me. And so I also want to share that I am not self-made. I hear a lot of people profess to be self-made. I'm God-made. And just thugging it out, doing what the Lord would have me to do. I'm married and have been for 26 years. I have 3 children, adult children, and 9 grandchildren, whom I absolutely adore. In my day-to-day gig, I am an executive director of the Lexington Housing Authority. In my 24/7 all the time gig, I am just someone who loves the Lord. I was trying to allow the Lord to use me to the best of my ability. Sometimes I'm super successful at that and sometimes not. And so I'm uber grateful for grace and mercy because we all need that. But I've been doing this a long time. I've been mediating in marriages and counseling Christian marriages for a couple of decades now. I've been a member of the church for better part of about 38 years. And so we do lots of things and lots of capacities. And so I'm just grateful and humbled to be a part of this podcast where we're talking about purpose. So let me share that purpose with you a little bit more as we go along.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And yes, this show really is in place to spark, that thought around what is my purpose and how do I make sure that every day I'm living it out, because we know tomorrow is not promised and folks are checking out every single day, right? And it reminds me every morning when I get up to do my devotion and to just be thankful and grateful to God that I have one more chance to walk it out, right? And me being here and you being here and those listening means that God still has work for you to do. Absolutely. And so we want to be good stewards of what he has gifted us with. And I love that you get to exhibit and portray all of your skills into ministry, into the work that God is having you to do. That I just love when those things mesh together for people. So let's talk about it. Like, how would you define your purpose? What would you say it is? And maybe when did you discover
that? That's a good question. I'm going to shock you, I think, like I was shocked when I heard this information about purpose. I heard it just a couple years ago. I was already adamant that I knew what my purpose was. As a communication strategist, as a leader, I just knew that that's what my purpose was supposed to be. I'll expound on that a little bit more, but I heard a lesson by Dr. Olu Shabazz that blew my mind about purpose. He says that we have all been conditioned to believe that purpose is singular, and that in it, we're all looking for that, what is my purpose in life? And when we say it, we mean it from a singular place. But Dr. Shabazz expressed that purpose is attached to time and season, that time dictates the season and season dictates the purpose. And so when he shook that apple tree, it said to me, I've had many purposes that God needed for me to fulfill to get to a singular purpose. And so it opened me up to be receptive to other things, because sometimes we get bound by what we think our purpose is. And then when God needs us over here, it's difficult for us to move and pivot. So we're very staunch on, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm purposed for. But because God in his infinite wisdom, and the fact that he is omnipresent, he knows when he needs for you to shift and what he needs for you to do and when he needs for you to do it. So when you are skilled and you are gifted, you can have multiple purposes that lead to a purpose. He said something, and I actually want to read it because it was so doggone profound that it just stopped me dead in my tracks, right? And I was like, man, Dr. Shabazz, he's too much for me. He says, unless your personal purpose is designed to connect to God's eternal purpose, then you ain't got no purpose.
As we say,
unless your personal purpose is connected to God's eternal purpose, then you ain't got no purpose. So what is my purpose? It's multifaceted. One, I'm a leader. Two, I deal with conflict resolution a lot. Marriage ministry chose me. I didn't choose it. That's my purpose. Edifying people in the kingdom, God's people, is my purpose. Being able to discern things is purposeful. To be someone who is a critical thinker is purpose. And so I serve them all the best that I can, in whatever way God decides to shift me in that. So what would I leave your listener with today? Don't get your feet planted in the mud. Learn how to shift and pivot wherever it is that God will take you. Because whatever you think your purpose is, his eternal purpose is of most highest importance.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. And what I thought about when you were saying that is something that I often say on the show is our ultimate purpose. And I think this is what you're referring to as well, is to bring glory to God. And he gifts us in different ways for us to manifest that, right? And I love, of course, Dr. Shabazz is just phenomenal. Yeah. Nobody like him, right? Yes. But what I love about that is, yes, it can look a little bit different in the different seasons, right? And it's about being obedient.
Absolutely. And I promise you, because of the way that it comes across from a secular perspective, we can miss our purpose thinking that it is just one thing. So yeah, whatever he gives me, however he leads and sends me, I try to be obedient. As I said, I ain't always obedient, but some stuff is real scary, y'all. But we walking it out best we can.
For sure, for sure. Oh, I love that. I hope that those that are listening, you all are taking some good notes, and it's so important to be in tune with God, right? Be in tune. It doesn't, I always say, listen to the voice of God, and no, I don't mean that he's going to come down and speak to you, in an audible voice, but God speaks in so many ways. But we got to be in tune so that we understand, okay, that's a shift. That's where God is leading me, right? Because he speaks to us and through people, through situations, through encouragement, really, right? Yeah. He may be speaking to you right now through this podcast. So
some confirmation is coming through, I'm sure, right? Because many of us are like, I don't know what my purpose is. Well, let it be what it is in the moment.
Right.
Right? Don't get hung up on this big spectacular thing, because sometimes we think that that's what it's supposed to be, right? But what if it is just edifying God's people? What if it is just being benevolent, right? What if it is just that thing that you do effortlessly and you're looking for it to be this? If I had told you to go dip in a clean river, you would have done that with no problem. But I done told you to go dip in the dirty Jordan and you struggling with it. Do you want to be clean? Hey.
Yes. Yeah, and I think you know, I'm gonna misquote the quote, so I want you all to go look it up. But it is a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King, and it's a poem that I often used to hear from a sister back at home in Michigan, and it was about, you know, whether you're the you know, sweeping the street, you know, whether you know, whatever your role is, no matter how we feel it's maybe minuscule. Even the Bible talks about that, right? Being a doorkeeper, right? I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of God, right? So whatever that role is, it matters to somebody. It matters to,
Absolutely.
you know, and even in my corporate space and working in diversity, equity, and inclusion, although I support, you know, 70,000 colleagues, at the end of the day, that one person that says, hey, the fact that we have this particular benefit, I'm just going to use, because everybody's on the Roe versus Wade right now, right? The fact that we have a particular benefit that's going to help me, you know, with my maternity or whatever, is so critical, you know, to me, right? And so it could be one person. And that's what we have to think about. It's the Bible again says, hey, the person that repents, the one person that repents, right? Heaven rejoices. Yeah. It's the one. And stop focusing on, you know, the next Oprah, the next, you know, the next Tyler Perry, the next whatever. It's all about what is God speaking to you and how can that benefit even just one. Even
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'm down with that.
So juicy. So tell us, like, how are you intentionally walking in your purpose, Sister Avis?
As I said, sometimes our purposes are hard. This marriage ministry, it's hard. It's difficult. I got a 9-to-5, but this is the thing that keeps me going. As I look at hurting hearts, as I look at God's people struggling to keep their covenant, what the covenant should be, as I look at God's people trying to define marriage by the world's standards and not God's, it means that my message isn't popular. It means that I have to do a lot of critical thinking, and I have to do a lot of emotional work on the back end, which means my expectation of people and my emotions can get in the way of the objective that I'm trying to pursue. And so I'm pushing through what that is. Intentional means objective. Intentional does not mean emotional. And as I counsel individuals, I have to make sure that I make a very clear distinction between those two, because emotions keep you from doing stuff because I don't feel like it. It doesn't feel good. You know, you hurt my feelings. And so in order for me to work with couples and say, your feelings matter, but they're not top priority, I also have to walk that. And so I spend a lot of time dealing with my emotions and making sure that I set them to the side so that the objective moves forward. And I think that's in any purpose. For God's people, when you look at the Bible, you can see that there are some emotional moments that have to be set aside in order to make the mission work. And so I think that's how I'm working in my purpose. I really and truly try not to get all in that feeling space that would cause me to pause indefinitely, because I have to keep going. I have to keep pushing the agenda.
Did y'all hear that? Wow. That was so rich, Sister Avis. And you're right. And it's sometimes when we have that unpopular message, or unpopular even purpose, right? We can even get intimidated.
Yeah.
Right? We can get nervous about that. But we gotta be about our Father's business, right? And ensuring that we keep pushing, right? Especially when we know that it's God given and we know that it's something that it's going to heal, right? You talked about, with marriages and people hurting, and that's not a good place, but people want to overcome, right? And so you're going to be there to help people overcome. Like, wow, like that's a mantle.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it is. It is a heavy mantle, and I know
Yeah.
that that's what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, and God is so good. Bless him. Bless the Lord.
Yes.
He is good at making me go through it before I share it. So you have to be authentic in it. You
Yeah.
don't play with me. You cannot stand flat-footed, 10 toes down and tell nobody that you ain't been through.
That's right.
And so I'm grateful for the struggle, which is why I say I'm God made, whatever it is I've been through. I have to give him all the praise and glory for it. And so that to me, that's what intentionality looks like.
Yes, yes. And speaking of that, one thing that I always encourage people to do as much as possible, right? We're human, so but if we could push through, is to not have regrets. To your point, live life intentionally, purposefully, and so as you think about your life now and where you've been, all the things that you've accomplished. If you could go back though and tell your younger self something, what would that be?
That's an all day conversation, sis. Uh, I think one of the first things I would say to Avis is, baby, you can't live your whole life in a day. You can't live your whole life in a day. Um, what you are right now is not all that you will be. It's okay for you to breathe. Um, it's okay for you to appreciate where you are, but don't get stuck in the feelings that you're having right now, because they have residue. They're sticky. Feelings are sticky, and they stay with you a long time. And instead of in the moment when you should have felt them and you should have addressed them, if you carry them for 20 years, they're going to change what your future is. So what you're feeling right now, baby girl, you got to let that go, because half the people that are saying things and doing things to you, they don't have no idea that your glow up is real. You hear me? Um, yeah. So I would definitely just tell myself to breathe, give me some grace. Um, I would say to my younger self that you are not fat. Yeah, because we carry that language with us a very long time and it becomes us. So every time I would have heard that word, I would have said, that's not true. And just teaching people now to go back and figure out what their triggers are and how to heal through those things that they've carried for 20, 30, 40 years so they can be their best selves. Yeah, that's what I would tell me.
I want you all to do that activity, to really reflect and think about what you would tell your younger self. And I think to release some things, because to your point, we're holding on to some things for so long. And we probably just haven't done that activity because, to really think about it, because it's a trigger. So we don't want to go there. But I always think about it and even tell myself, like, release it so that you can fly, so that you can help someone else get through it faster.
Yep.
That's what I always think about with my children. I'm like, okay, what can I help them, through experience so they don't have to experience it? And some things they will, but what can I do to help set them up for success? And financial, I always think about, personal finance. I learned a lot of tips later. And like, how can I help my 11-year-old was asking me the other day, like, Mom, help me with, like, what is a stock? Like, what does that mean? I was like, oh, let's do it.
Yes,
Let's talk
yes.
about ownership. You know what I mean? And so,
Yes.
so helping, the next
Talking
generation.
about generational wealth.
Yes.
Talking about how things look, even though they don't look that way right now. This is how they can look, right?
Yeah.
This is how I need to set you up for later. And this is why we do. Yeah, girl. All of those conversations.
Yeah.
And in reality, a lot of that is what the book is about. It's about understanding the historical roots, the triggers and traumas and things that have happened in our lives that we actually bring into our marriages, and we fight those things. And then we look at our spouses and we think our spouses are the cause. So when we can break it down to the point where we can get real honest with ourselves, be really open and vulnerable, and say, this actually happened about 15 years ago. And it's really a lot less about you and a lot more about me. Our marriages can really thrive. Right now, they're almost decimated because we haven't healed. Yeah.
Yeah, spending more time with self, and we're so busy. We're always
Quality
on the
time with self.
Quality time. Yeah, I love it. So, I want you to share a little bit about what you're most proud of when you think about your journey. And I hope that one of them is that you're an author. So I want you to share also about
All right.
about your books. Come on, y'all, books. And just share a little bit about that journey.
The thing that I'm most proud of before I get to the books is my children. I love my children. I didn't want children. I have 3 of them. And I'm very proud of every aspect of me that each one of them portrays. That's my level of vainglory, I suppose. But I'm most proud of my children. And I'm most proud of this work that I am embarking upon right now, which is this book. It's Gottman versus God, The Good Fight for My Marriage. I wrote a book initially right out of school called Talk is Cheap Until It Costs You Everything. That was the launch pad for me of saying we've got some communication problems, particularly for people of color, that we really should be talking about more than we talk about. It sparked a lot of research for me, studying and understanding culture and communication at a level that, again, we don't really talk about. We have a very surface understanding of what communication is, but the deeper you go, the better you become at it. Over the pandemic, my marriage was going through some things and has been going through some things for many, many years. But God gave me some answers during that downtime that was not only significant for me and my marriage, but I knew it would be significant for other people. And so I cried in many of the chapters that I wrote. I had to pause in many of the chapters that I wrote and look at myself, take a very deep introspective look, write down some things, discover some things, release some things, tell the truth about some things, and then be vulnerable about some things. And so in the doing of that, this book is birthed. And again, as I said, I've been mediating with couples now for a couple of decades. And so I've seen some patterns, I've seen some similarities that are cultural in nature, traditional in nature. And so I really wanted to go deeper than the eye can see. Stop talking about what we're talking about and talking about what we're thinking about. And when we do that, things actually do change. Now you have to be honest with yourself and ask, do you really want to change? For a long time, I didn't want to change. I wanted my husband to change. And I just thought, if he changed, then we're going to be all right. And so I had to stop kicking against the pricks when it came to that, because the only person that God has given me the power to change is me. And so I took advantage of that understanding, and I'm sharing it with the world, and I'm sharing it with God's people. And I'm saying we have to move away from what we've been taught, and we have to unlearn some things so we can learn some things, because everybody is not sitting in the same happily ever after place, but God's people should be. And so that's my message. That's my agenda. That's what I hope that this new work will do.
That's beautiful. What I love about all of that, because it was all good, but what I love about you didn't keep it to yourself. As you said, God took you through a season, or maybe seasons over time, but in the pandemic, right, comes to light, and you didn't, keep it to yourself. You really share with others. So I know that this is going to bless so many people. My husband and I are going to read it when we go on our vacation. I can't wait. But for our audio listeners on the podcast, the book is called The Good Fight for My Marriage, by Avis Robinson, MA. And so I want you all to grab a copy of that. I'll definitely leave the information in the show notes so that you can do that. Get what I always tell, get help. It's okay. It's okay.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, whether you decide to share or not, I just want people to get support, get help. You don't have to fight this alone. And I love what you said about when we're in God, we can get to that happy ever after, right? We can get to that happy ever after. So listen, so good. So leave the audience, maybe Avis, with just a couple of words to you've already done it, but if you just some closing words to inspire, to motivate them to just find what their purposes may be in this season, to bring God
glory. To find your purpose, you need to be looking around you and within you. What has God gifted you with, right? Don't be afraid to use whatever that gift is. And even deeper than that, look for your gift. There were so many years that I didn't know what my gift was, because from a cultural perspective, my gift had to do with communication, which had to do with talking. And back in the day, generations ago, young people being vocal and communicative with older people was frowned upon. So it was shut up, be quiet, right? It's better to be seen and not heard, go to your room, and all of those kinds of things. And so the thing that I was really, really good at was stifled. And so sometimes, again, this is part of the inner work, is you figuring out what God has gifted you with. And then how do you use that to bring him glory? Because that is your purpose at that moment. The other words that I want to leave you with, if you are a couple in crisis, as Alicia has shared, please seek wise counsel. Please don't compare your marriage to other people's marriage. One of the mistakes that I made was I was looking at Christian men and Christian couples, and I was saying, why aren't we like that? But that is not who we were before we came to the Lord. So we brought a lot of baggage that didn't look like the baggage, or those people had been married for 30, 40 years. And so they done got through their rocky season, but I'm trying to mirror what I'm seeing, not realizing how long it took them to get to that place. So I think comparison actually stifles purpose. Don't compare yourself to other people. Be what you are purposed to be, whatever that is. And then finally, give God all you got. Oftentimes, we want to, I don't know, shortchange the Lord. And sometimes that comes with lack of knowledge. Sometimes it comes with low self-esteem and lack of confidence. And sometimes it's just sheer fear. And so I'm saying, take a look at all of those emotions that you're feeling, deal with them directly, which is inside work, write them down, allow your memory to take you all the way back to the place where you first felt it, and then release it so that you can come forward and do the things that you need to do. And I think that will help you to resonate in your purpose in a totally different way, because now you won't be bogged down and you won't be imprisoned by the things that Satan uses so often to keep us from being motivated.
Y'all, that's so good. Breathe, release. Remember, comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
Be the best that God has called you to be, right? Oh my goodness, so many good things, Sister Avis. I know that people are blessed. Let me tell you, they are blessed by hearing you. I know they're going to be even more blessed when they read your literature as well. So tell folks how they can stay maybe connected or get connected with you.
Hey, oh my goodness, how do you get connected with me? I have a platform on Facebook called Grace Out Loud. It is from a creative place, something I'm very proud of. I've identified through my counseling sessions that so often grace is missing in our homes. We want it, but we're not quickly to give it. And so I created this platform called Grace Out Loud. Like, don't keep it a secret. All of the grace that God gives you is out loud. It's on purpose. You see it, you know you got it, right? You know you got it. So you got to give it. And so check me out, Facebook, Grace Out Loud. I also have a website if you're interested in services. We're in 2023, we're going to start going, I hope, into churches and conducting workshops and seminars. We're going to talk about communication differently. We're going to open up and show individuals how to move past violent, oppressive communication to communication that edifies and uplifts. We have to be taught how to do that. We have to be taught how to listen. We have to be taught how to choose our words to produce a specific outcome. So I'm hoping that 2023 God will give way to that. So my website is www.graceoutloud.cc. So check me out there. If you're interested in purchasing a book, you can do that on the website as well through credit card purchases. And if you want a quick, fast turnaround, you can also Cash App AROB, the $, capital AROB, 138. Make sure you put your address in the memo line so that I have that mailing address. And we're turning books around within 1 to 2 days. So we want to get a book in your hand. We want you to start talking about it. And I'm going to ask a favor. If you order a book, please post a picture of the book and say something about the book. And here's why. It's not for vainglory so that you're gassing me up in any fashion. It is if people are hurting and they need to be healed, the people that are in their peer group are going to be more effective in activating them to purchase a book than I would. So tell somebody that somebody can help. So don't think you're doing it for me to put dollars in my pocket, because this is not a get rich thing. This is truly about healing God's people.
Amen. You all be a blessing to someone else, right? That's so important. Well, thank you so much, Sister Avis, for this wonderful conversation. I have really enjoyed it. I am on fire for doing the next thing that God has asked me to do as well. So thank you so much for lending your gift. Thank you for pouring into marriages. That's something that's important to my husband and I too, is to see love, to see laughter, to see fun, to see just growth in our marriages. And so thank you so much for your gifting, your purpose. You are definitely walking in it, my love. So thank you.
Thank you so much, darling.
Y'all check her out. Please, please, please make sure you leave a comment, all the good things. I so appreciate y'all for coming back and listening to the podcast. And as I always say, go with God and God will go with you. Peace and blessings. Thank you, Avis.
You're welcome.